So quickly, if you think about how we're thinking about the cultural transformation, there's 4 different tracks we're taking. First of all, we had a series of strategy and alignment culture sessions with our leadership team. So really hearing first from the employees. We did a survey back in June and July of last year. We got a ton of feedback about what people want in the culture. It was focused totally on the culture. We got back to honest point, 10,000 comments, about 25 pages, lots around leadership trust, ability to really understand the strategy of the business, and a lot around, I love my team and my manager, but everybody next to me, I don't trust. So it's the siloed mentality that we're trying to break here. So lots of great data. So we took that data and then we sat down with the leadership team and began to have them talk about the strategy of the business and how does it align to the culture we want to build. We did the culture gap analysis, and now we're in the process of taking all that work and rolling it into our strategic planning process. The interesting thing is we walked out and we said, let's focus on 3 things we think we can really make a difference. Because you can't do all of those well, right? And so the opportunity is around customer focus, it's around market leadership, and it's around external focus versus internal focus. How many of you often spend so much time looking internally that you miss what's happening outside the market? Exactly, and that's been our challenge. So there's still internal things to work on, but you got to understand your market, your customers, your competition more so than you've been able to do in the past because you've been so internally oriented. So all these things have big implications. Everything from who we hire, capabilities, systems you got to put in place in terms of automation, how you think about where you spend your time, how you market yourself. So these things done well will take us a while to get there. But those are how we're going to manage our strategy. So that's the big C. And this is the part, as HR practitioners, I think we sometimes miss. We get so caught up in the culture and the values, which are very critical, don't get me wrong. But if you only do those, and you don't marry those towards where you're headed as a business, it's going to be a hollow exercise. And the other thing I would say is we have a CEO who's brilliant, who can do engineering like nobody else can, and who can do sales like nobody else can. And a lot of that strategy is up here, and he gets frustrated when people can't articulate the strategy beneath him. And so this was also a Trojan horse, if you will, to not only talk about the values of the company, but also how do we articulate that strategy in a more simple and compelling way so employees know what do I have to go work on. So marrying those 2 together has been extremely powerful, and I would encourage you to bring those together and not just make it a pure values exercise. So we've gotten them together, and we've created a culture strategy map, which talks about what differentiates our products, who are our customers, what counts in the market, what's our pricing model, all those things that help you therefore then pick your priorities, and then you can begin to fashion a culture around that. So we're working on our vision, mission, values, and strategy. So we're in the process of bringing now that team together with the final outputs, and then we're working with all of the different work teams to then begin to talk about where does the strategy and the culture and how do we have them embedded into there. So I guess my advice for you would be, first of all, it has to be both organic and leader-led. So initially my CEO had said, Amy, I want you to go out and do this survey here from all the employees, let them create the values. And I said, well, I think we want to hear from them about what's most important, but I got to make certain the leader at the top understand and buy into it. The other thing we've done is also gone out and done a bunch of listening tours. Because sometimes you'll see data on paper and you'll see comments, but they aren't brought to life unless you go out. So I've done at least 30 roundtables in addition to my peers in Dublin, in India, and Culver City, and Draper, Utah, and Singapore. And what's interesting to me is we sit down and do these culture roundtables. People are not just talking about the integrity they want to see, the leadership alignment, but they're also talking about really simple fixes to things around systems and what kind of tool are we using to manage our knowledge management. I mean, things are just like, and even people said they need to get a budget rolled down to them. Like some things, it's like care and feeding, it's like oxygen. So those are great ways to hear from employees about things that are easy fixes. It gives them confidence that we're really serious about making the change. So it's been even more of an organizational effectiveness exercise for us beyond just the strategy and culture piece. To do it right, it takes time. So we kicked this off actually March of last year, did the survey in June and July, did all the listening sessions, and we're going to continue to do them. We're going to call them conversations now going forward and embedding them in our everyday operating cycles, much like I talked about the cadence piece. And now we're going to have a leadership summit with our top 80 leaders to come in May to have them actually be a part of the strategy and going into the organization. An interesting thing I would say there is initially it's like, well, I'll just bring in all the L1s, which are direct reports to the CEO, and the L2s at their next level, but not everybody's creative people, because some groups need to be in there more so than others. So as opposed to a spray and pray and everybody comes in together and gets baptized, it's being more of a working session with people that represent product, customer, marketing, support, sales, to help really work through the strategy and how to make it real. So that's when these sessions become real, as opposed to just having everyone come together and with a piece of paper. It's going to be real working sessions. And then therefore it's going to be work. And I would say that for cultural changes, it has to be purposeful. If it's accidental, it'll be easy because you don't have to really worry about it, or you won't get the results. So it requires us to be very purposeful about how we measure and manage this, how we have a constant drumbeat of conversation, how we get leaders out to listen. So for those who know about security, it's a hot skill, kind of like SOX was like 12 years ago. And you don't curate it overnight. It's something you have to really grow and learn and actually do. So we're doing a couple things. One, we're looking at early career talent and bringing them in and having them do what kind of apprentice work so they can begin to learn the craft of it. We've also funded a program called SC3, which is for people who are not going to have a traditional path to college, that are disadvantaged, and actually can be SOC, Security Operating Center analysts. So go in the community, not necessarily for Symantec, but the broader community. And the last thing I'd say is we're so mission-driven that we typically get sort of the battle-worn, deep capability folks, because what we do is so important. But everyone's competing for these folks. So we try and do everything from some of the work we've described up here in terms of the culture, the strategy, the alignment piece of it, and we try and get them to work on really cool things, because people stick around for cool things that get attracted.